Hi everyone, welcome to the second episode of Nostos, your journey back home. Today, I'm going to share 3 simple steps to begin expanding that capacity we discussed in the previous episode. And again, these are only the beginning. We are not trying to transform everything overnight. Instead, we are building awareness. We are developing new psychological muscles. And we are learning to see ourselves more clearly. Because after all, awareness always comes before transformation. Now, I want you to imagine someone trying to build a beautiful house. And year after year, they add new rooms, they expand the structure, they make it larger and larger. But the foundation beneath it was never designed to support the weight. And at first, everything seems fine, right? However, eventually, cracks begin to appear, and parts of the structure begin to struggle under the pressure. So why I said that? Because I wanted to imagine that that foundation represents your capacity. If your capacity is weakened by limiting beliefs, fears, doubts, emotional wounds, or patterns you've carried for years without realizing them, then even when life brings opportunities, those opportunities often struggle to stay. Did you follow that? Alright. That's why most people experience cycles of boom and bust. For example, making money, then losing it. Making progress, then watching it disappear. Or someone finally gets the promotion they've been working for years. And as a result, their income increases. And now they finally feel relieved, successful, proud of themselves. But because they still carry the belief that money is difficult to keep, they immediately create new financial pressure. They increase their spending or start making decisions from fear. And before long, within a few months, they are back in the same financial stress they were trying to escape. And the same principles apply to relationships. Intense love followed by a painful breakup, followed by getting back together with your ex. And it's confusing because you love them, don't you? But somehow you're still in pain. The relationship is up, then it's down. Then it's up again, then it's down again. It never ends. And it feels like that is something you simply can let go of. Can you relate to it? Think about that. Well, the relationship begins to break down, not because love wasn't there, but because the capacity to receive and sustain that love was limited by old patterns. Why? Because often the relationship is revealing something that already exists within you. In other words, if this person, your ex, your lover, were no longer in the picture, the next relationship might create a very similar experience, or worse. Different person, same emotional pattern. Different story, same underlying struggle. Moments of clarity followed by deep confusion. moments of confidence followed by self-doubt, moments of connection followed by fear. You see, the key isn't to keep building higher. Instead, the key is to strengthen the foundation. Because when your capacity becomes stronger, life begins to look different. Confidence can remain, success can remain. And that's exactly what we are beginning to learn here, right? How do we expand our capacity so we can stop repeating the same cycles over and over again? With that in mind, let's move on to the first step. Step one, recognize that growth is possible. Because many people unconsciously believe that what they want is unavailable or impossible. Love, success, confidence, all these things. But what if many of the things you're looking for are not as far as they seem? What if the greatest obstacle isn't a lack of opportunity, but a lack of readiness? Think about that. Because sometimes we assume life is withholding something from us. But often life is inviting us to become the person who can sustain it. So the goal is not to create more opportunities. The goal is to become capable of receiving them. Now, step two, identify where your capacity is limited. Take a moment and ask yourself. You can make notes if you wish. Where do I struggle to hold on the things I want? Is it money, love, success, confidence? What cycles keep repeating in my life? What patterns seem to return no matter how much my circumstances change? Where do I feel uncomfortable receiving more? And last one, where do I become afraid when things start going well? In the meantime, I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine once told me, I don't think healthy relationships exist anymore. All the good partners are already taken. She said, dating in London is so difficult. And maybe you've heard similar things. The dating scene in New York is terrible. Or you can't find a good partner in Los Angeles. Tokyo is impossible. Or people in Brazil don't want a commitment. All this are beliefs. Because we often blame the city, the culture, or the dating scene. But what if the issue isn't whether healthy relationships exist? What if the real question is whether we've developed the emotional capacity to recognize, receive, and sustain a healthy relationship? Because if that capacity isn't there, changing cities won't necessarily change the outcome. A new city may give you new face, new streets, and new experiences. But unless something changes within you, we'll often recreate the same relationships dynamics in a different place. You can move to China, the same pattern follows. The location changes, the pattern doesn't. And you'll simply carry the same patterns into a different place. And most people spend years trying to change their lives without understanding that the patterns driving their behavior. Does that make sense? Now, step 3, build the internal structure required to sustain more life. And this is where the real work begins. The way we expand our capacity is not through effort, it is through transformation. If you want more love, you must learn how to receive love without fear. If you want healthier relationship, you must develop trust communication and emotional resilience. If you want greater confidence, you must become willing to tolerate uncertainty and discomfort. So imagine someone who wants greater confidence and they keep waiting until they feel confident before speaking up, sharing ideas, or pursuing opportunities. But confidence rarely appears first. Instead, what they do, they begin taking small actions despite uncertainty. They speak when they feel nervous. They take opportunities before they feel completely ready. They also tolerate discomfort rather than avoiding it. And over time, what happens? Confidence grows because they have developed the capacity to hold uncertainty without being controlled by it. Growth happens when we become aligned with what we're asking for. When people struggle, they often ask me, what should I do in this situation, in that situation, with my ex, with my dad, whatever? So the deeper question is not what should I do, but who do I need to become? Because the moment you become capable of sustaining what you're asking for, your experience of life begins to change, right? Everything we are exploring in this episode is designed to strengthen that capacity, to help you understand the patterns, beliefs, and fears that prevent you from fully receiving what life has to offer. And you may be more capable than you realize. So let me say that again, because I want this to truly sink in. The challenge is not always getting what you want. The challenge is becoming the person who can receive and sustain it. And that is where transformation begins. Given that, in the next episode, we'll explore purpose and meaning, and we'll begin examining why certain experiences, challenges, relationships, and opportunities seem to appear in our lives, and how understanding them can completely change the way we see our past, present, and future. Right? This is Nastas, your journey back home, and I'll see you in the next one.